because we understand that you love us. That it is a reckless love that chases us down and leaves the 99. That we don't fully understand you, but that you should take our breath away. Every minute of every day. So we're here, God, to worship you the best way that each of us knows how. And it's different for every single one of us. I pray that you would meet us where we are. Give us exactly what we need tonight. Speak to us through your word. I have a feeling that every one of us can hear something completely different tonight, and that is okay. Because you are all about knowing every single thing about us, the number of hairs on our head. You know every thought and inclination of our heart. There's nothing about us you don't know. Because you knew us before you formed us in our mother's womb. So meet us there tonight. God, and I pray that our worship glorifies you. In your precious Son's name I pray. Amen. Okay, I can hear his ticking clock. I gotta get rid of that. Oh my goodness. And I left everything in the back. I was coming up to pray for you guys and brought no notes and no Bible with me. That's all right. I might could do it with no notes, and you might be sorry though if I did. Was your food okay? Everybody's food awesome? That was Big Jake's, in case you were wondering. Big Jake's is awesome. I know, it was yummy. I'm a break. When people ask me, what is your favorite meal, or if they say you're on death row, what would be your meal when they ask you, what would be your choice brisket? That's what it is for me. Is that sad? Like, it's nothing fancy, it is brisket. I was in there, I should not tell y'all that. I was in there not touching meat adjacent, but I was picking out of it with my fingers before y'all got here. But my fingers did not touch any meat that did not go in my mouth. Was that better? Like, I promise it didn't. It didn't. And so, but it was so good because I can't see it sitting there and not eat it. I just can't. I don't have any meat. But it was awesome. So thank you to Big Jake's for that. It's awesome for us. We sort of created this because this night, if you've never been to Pursuit with us before, because, well, I'm pretty passionate about men's ministry. I have no idea about men's ministry. I don't know what they want or need. I have no idea. But I know girls like to eat and to get out of the house and like talk and do things together. And so I thought the more opportunities we have to do this, I want us to do it. And I learned a long time ago that if not, because you can't be all over the city in every Bible study, and you can't be involved in every single thing that your church body has. But I do think if people are gathering to worship on a regular basis, like once a week, and somebody there is willing to open up the Word, their pastor, or there's a Bible study, y'all have like a Wednesday afternoon Bible study, don't y'all? Too? Yes. That there should be something in you that wants to be there. And a lot of times it is going to be a sacrifice. You're going to have other things. I mean, y'all have other things to do, right? Right? We've talked about that before. I think we all said it. Nobody is in here because their housekeeper is at home fixing their house right now. Right? Nobody? No. It's not. If my kids weren't here, they would be at home messing up my house right now. And so, but they're actually out here messing up the church. And so, but you're not here, you sacrificed to be here. And I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful, like I look at the faces and I think, these are people that thought, you know what, I'm willing to leave stuff undone. Leave the homework to the kids and leave the dishes undone and the extra laundry not switched over, not folded, and I'm just going to come and worship for a little while. Because I promise you, you can find something else to do. Other than come here, you really could. And there will be a time when Satan really, really will try and get you to find a reason not to come to whatever your regularly scheduled worship thing is, if it's Saturday night or Sunday morning or whatever that is, that he will try to get you to do something else. And so I'm thrilled that you're here because we're going to open the Word. And I promise you, I don't have anything super profound to say. You may be like, well, I'm gone then. I'm done. I don't have anything that somebody else has not discovered and has not taught. But we're opening up the Word. And we're just going to listen to what He has to say, because there is nothing better for us to do right this second than that. And so, that's why I am glad you guys are here. We are going to be, this was so hard for me. Just, if you ever, because we don't tie these together, we don't, I don't have a series, because we have different people, a lot of different people every time. Some of you have been every time, and then other times we have different people each time, and so I don't tie them together, whereas if you miss this one, you won't understand December. You know what I'm saying? We don't do that. I do an individual one every time, and so I pray like a crazy person, going, well, I have this entire thing, what in the world am I supposed to go over? Please tell me. What? It could be anything. New Testament, Old Testament, where do we go? And I kept feeling, I was like, New Testament, and then it's like God said, no, we're going to go with Ezekiel. I was like, why do you got to pick stuff that I don't know a ton of stuff about? And so I'm reading through Ezekiel, it's like 48 chapters long, and reading through it going, what? And it is, get this, so I finally find a commentary. I'm like, okay, God, that's fine. That's what we will do. I keep going back to Ezekiel, and somebody said, it is the most confusing and not able to understand it books in the entire Bible. I was like, fabulous. That's exactly what I want to do for possibly people who hadn't been in church in 5 years, whatever. That's what we want to do, but that's what we're doing. And I trust Him to speak to us through that, and I am going to. I'm not old enough yet to have glasses where I can see you and see this. I don't know, they have that, right? So like when I have them on, I can't see you. I can see my Bible, but I can't see y'all. So I'm like to be the irritating person that has to take them on and off. And I'm sure there's something I could go get a prescription for, right? Wouldn't have to do that anymore. But anyways, regardless, this is where we are. Okay, let me tell you a little bit. Well, anybody know anything about Ezekiel? Don't everybody all speak up at once.
I'd like to name our next baby.
See? See? Are you announcing that you're pregnant, Sarah?
Yes, it's the second coming of Christ.
I thought that was your sneaky way of telling us you're pregnant. Okay. And there are some baby Ezekiels out there, believe it or not. There are some. Anybody know anything about him? How crazy is that? Well, that's how I kind of felt. I mean, I knew some, but I kind of felt that way. Let me tell you a little bit of background, because you know me too. This is my passion, is knowing what is going on. I am not going to read a part of the Bible without knowing where they are, what they're doing, why they said what they said, who was with them. Because I'm going to misinterpret it if I don't know all of that. And that is fascinating to me. We're even talking about the temple some today, and I looked up, and I meant to get it for you guys, and I didn't. There's a million versions of what they think Jerusalem looked like, the walled city, with the temple in a part of it, and I did not get that for you guys. But I was looking up a million pictures of that too, because I got to have a visual. Just like I told you with the song, like when we're singing, I want you to visualize what you think he looks like. And believe me, he is not offended by what you think he looks like. He wants to know what you think he looks like. Right or wrong, it doesn't matter. It's your visualization of that. And that's why I want people to use their imagination. So I want you to kind of step in to where we are in Ezekiel today. Ezekiel lived during the same time as Jeremiah and Daniel. So that means that he was also deported out of Jerusalem as a punishment. The Jewish people, God punished them by sending them to Babylon, or letting Babylon come get them. That's a better description. And so in 605, after years of Jeremiah telling the people, years and years, he's there, if we do not obey, if we all come on, if we don't obey, he's told us that all we need to do is worship him, and no one else. Worship him, no one else. Just focus on him. People would not do it. And I'm talking years. So if you ever wonder about God's patience, years and years of Jeremiah saying this. In 605, Nebuchadnezzar comes in and deports a whole group of them, the first deportation to Babylon, marches them across the desert. And for about 6 years or so, the rest of them sit there. We've talked before about how he took the smartest. He's going to come and take the scholars, the teachers, the royal family, everybody, the athletic, the young, the warriors, all of those people all got taken. And I've talked to y'all before about how if you take those people, what is society left? If you're left with the people that aren't strong enough to work very hard, and aren't strong enough to carry the water and build the things and repair the wall, or all of the thinkers, all your smart thinkers are gone, what are you left with for 6 years? So Jerusalem, that's how they did it when they would come take cities, because they know your city's going to get weaker and weaker and weaker. You take all the great, strong people, you get weaker and weaker. 6 years later, they came and deported again. And Ezekiel was in that second deportation. We believe Daniel was in the first deportation. Don't think Jeremiah was ever taken, but Daniel was taken first because he was young and smart and strong. And then comes in and takes Ezekiel. Ezekiel doesn't even start prophesying. He's a prophet, just like Jeremiah. And he doesn't even start prophesying until he had been there for a few years. So he'd been living in Babylon. And what he came to tell them was, when they first got there, is, you are not humble. You have not been humbled by this. And you are not going to get called back to Jerusalem until you humble yourself. And so this is what's going on with him. The years went. The second wave went right around maybe 8 years, like 597, they left him there, came back and got a second group of people. He started prophesying around 593. He'd probably been there about 4 years before God said, here's what you're going to tell the people. And by the end of the book, and that's where we're going to start, is towards the end of the book, I want you to go ahead and turn to 39. If you have a Bible. If you don't, there is one probably under one of the chairs around you. So feel free to look for that too. And somebody will grab, y'all look on the chair behind you, and if somebody doesn't have one, hold it up and you can give it to the person around you. Yes, Ezekiel 39. Let's start in verse 21. Everybody it's Old Testament. If you're still searching, you are still good. Daniel, if you find Daniel, turn to the left. If you're in Psalms, keep going to the right. This is what God says. And remember, he's speaking through Ezekiel to the Jewish people. 21. And I will set my glory among the nations, and all the nations shall see my judgment that I have executed, and my hand that I have laid on them. The house of Israel shall know that I am the Lord their God from that day forward. And the nations shall know that the house of Israel went into captivity for their iniquity, because they dealt so treacherously with me, that I hid my face from them, and gave them into the hand of their adversaries, and they all fell by the sword. I dealt with them according to their uncleanness and their transgressions, and hid my face from them. Verse 25, therefore thus says the Lord God, now I will restore the fortunes of Jacob, and have mercy on the whole house of Israel, and I will be jealous for my holy name. They shall forget their shame and all the treachery they have practiced against me, when they dwell securely in their land, with none to make them afraid. When I have brought them back from the peoples, and gathered them from their enemies' lands, and through them have vindicated my holiness in the sight of my nation, many nations, then they shall know that I am the Lord their God, because I sent them into exile among the nations, and then assembled them into their own land. I will leave none of them remaining among the nations anymore, and I will not hide my face anymore from them, when I pour out my Spirit upon the house of Israel, declares the Lord God. Okay, we're going to go farther into it in just a little bit. We're going to go farther down into the 40s. What he is pointing out to them right now is why they are there. You are here because you did what I told you not to do. And how could we hear that? I mean, if you've been in church for any amount of time, is Christianity about following rules? But what does this sound like? What did they do? They didn't follow the rules. They didn't follow the rules. So, if anything in Scripture ever seems to not jive with something else in Scripture, then we have misinterpreted it. Because it does all go together. When we were singing that last song, The Reckless Love, and David's the one that's like, David's our shepherd, you know, and he's the one that talks about like leaving the sheep and go, you chase down the one that's lost, you leave the other ones, and then God is that shepherd, and he comes and chases us. But we think about that song, this reckless love of God. There is no mountain he won't climb up, you know, no lie he won't tear down to get to me. But does that God seem different than the God that you hear about in the Old Testament? Does that seem any different to you? Does he seem more serious about himself in the Old Testament than he is in the New Testament? But is he? Or maybe are we not as serious about him in the light of grace as we need to be? Because he has not changed from that God of the Old Testament. I don't think this passage that Ezekiel is telling those people has as much to do with you aren't following the rules, is as it is you are not acknowledging me for who I am. You have forgotten. When I appeared to Moses in the burning bush, do you remember what the first thing he told Moses was? What to do? Take off your shoes. You're on holy ground. Okay, in our minds, like we don't take off our shoes when we head into the church. We don't, you know what I mean? Like there are things like that that don't make sense to us. But we have to remember them in our mental definition of who he is. That we have to make that make sense to us. We have to go, something about him is so different than me being with Terry or me being with Tiffany that I would have to change my countenance and my footwear and to even be near the flame that is just representing him that isn't even him. Then he's saying, because I am here, the dirt you're standing on is now separate from everything else. I have made it separate. That's what holy means. Holy means that it is set apart. It is not the same. That it is so other than. So what God is telling us in this is, I am so other than you, and you have forgotten it. And he was telling Moses then, he's like, you're having a conversation with me and you're hearing me in your language, but you're not talking to someone like you and I would be talking. You need to take your shoes off. Something has to change. Now, I don't understand why. What if Moses had been barefoot? Then what would he have said? I don't know. I just know that when he comes and shows up, things are different. And we need to keep searching the scriptures to figure out what is so different. And you know, one day we are going to realize that even our best interpretation of him, our best imagination did not come anywhere close to what he actually is. Not even close. I think about Like, think about, well, I already mentioned brisket, but the best meal you have ever had. Okay, picture it, like, I don't know if it was one or if every time y'all make it, it tastes exactly the same as the best meal you've ever had every time. But the best meal you've ever had. The moment, the most romantic moment you've ever had. I don't know if it's if you were proposed to or whatever. If the most overwhelming feeling of love you've ever had, if it's when you had your baby, when you got married, when, I don't know, when you gave your child away to marriage, I have no idea what your most overwhelming feeling of love is. The most beautiful thing that you have ever seen. My computer does, I don't know if your computer does this, my computer puts up I could probably change it, have no idea how, but it puts up these backdrops that are just unreal. And today, I was on my computer and I found myself just staring at it. It's probably like in Ireland, you know, places that have unreal countryside, and it just doesn't even seem, I'm looking, like, people live there. Like, they look at that every day. They just wake up and there are these green hills and it had like a mist over it, and it was just unreal. The most beautiful thing you've ever seen. And you combine all of those things, the most amazing food, the most romantic moment, the most beautiful thing you've ever seen, the most overwhelming feeling of love, and it will pale in comparison to being in the presence of God. Because all of those are just glimpses into given by Him to us to start to understand. Because He knows we can't even fathom all of Him. And He's about to try and explain some to us, and it's going to be super confusing, and you're going to go, this is so confusing. And today I thought, you know why it's so confusing? Because He's going, I am going to try and tell you like you were 5 years old, and it's still going to be confusing to you, and I'm going to try it in the most simplest form I can, and you're still not going to get it, but it's the most elementary I can make it. Because I can't put myself any smaller than that. I can't do it. And that's what He's going to try and do there. And this is what happened to Israel. Israel had lost sight of Moses and who he was. And I want you to remember what happened to Moses. When Moses struck the rock, because he was really frustrated with people, God said, you will get water from the rock. Okay, I want you to speak to the rock. And Moses did, and they would irritate the snot out of him. And Moses yelled at the rock, or he struck the rock. And God didn't let him go to the promised land after years and years with those people. There are many times in Scripture where God shows how serious He was. Think about Ananias and Sapphira. How they did not give all that they lied about how much that they had sold so that their tithe they were given to the church wasn't what it should be. They still gave. Like you haven't exaggerated before. And what did He do to them? They died right there. Okay, have you ever done anything to deserve that? Probably. Did the same God do that to Ananias and Sapphira? The same one. Every day that He does not do that to one of us, that is grace. Every day. I think about, I may have told y'all about this before. I forget stuff like I'm old now, and so like, you know, I lead prayer time too. There's no telling what I told y'all like 5 times. I'd be like the grandma, and we're like, we have heard that. And not that the grandmas do that. I'm just saying they might. They might. But they do, okay. And you're pregnant again, so I mean like just more chances. There was a bridge that collapsed in the Twin Cities, this freeway collapsed, all cars on it. And a lot of people died. And the outcry from a lot of people was, how does God let something like this happen? Like, you think you're safe, you're driving along the road one day, and the road that you trust every day to carry you collapses. Who's to blame? You know, the engineers, who's supposed to be inspecting it, they're mad. You know what? Unless every day that you drove over that bridge, you were thankful that it didn't collapse, and you praised God and said, today, you got me safely over the bridge, then you cannot complain when it does collapse. That our view of Him has to be constant, that today I was not diagnosed with a terminal illness. Today I wasn't. That is awesome. I might be tomorrow, but you know what? That's okay. Because today I wasn't, and if I am tomorrow, I will remember who He is, and I will have a million other things to be thankful for. I just won't have that one. And I was thankful for that one yesterday. And I had to take that off my list, and I will be thankful for something else. What kind of ministry am I going to have now that God has made me in a new place, in a hospital, in a place where I'm going to have to get treatment, meeting people I would have never met? That's something to be thankful for right there. When you remember who He is. And we sang one of the first songs where they said, every breath belongs to Him. And we forget to be thankful for that because we forget who He is. And He's so patient while we forget who He is. He gives you a day. Think about full days that have gone by for you where you did not give a second thought because you were so stressed about everything else in your life. You did not give a thought. And He sat by and watched and said, she doesn't remember who I am. She's not even really thankful today for what I've done. But that's okay, I'll sit here and wait. You know how I know that? Because you're still sitting here. And He did not strike you dead. He did not do anything. He sat and waited. But when He does something like this, for years Jeremiah prophesied and warned them. They did not learn. He warned them and warned them. They didn't learn. Took them away. Told Jeremiah, tell them it's going to be 70 years. Build houses and have babies. Because you're not coming home for 70 years. Most of you are going to die. And He had waited before that, but He finally did do that. And He punished them. Well, we can't terminate there on God, that God punishes people. Oh yeah, He does. We can't terminate there. Why? Because why did He treat them that way? And how does He feel about them? Yes. He sent them there because He loves them. And even when they forget about Him, He chases them down, and by sending them to Babylon was chasing them down. He said, I will chase down your heart because I warned you, but you didn't listen. So when I send you away, you will start to cry out to me because you will want to come home. And that's what you need, is to cry out to me. That's the deepest need of your heart, and even if you don't realize it, I'm going to send you there because I still love you. Instead of striking all of you dead, that's what I'm going to do. And every once in a while, He did do what people deserve. Where is it? Oh, I've got to put my glasses back on. This is a verse that hopefully y'all pulled out of it. Let me find it. Hold on. Verse 24 of 39. I dealt with them according to their uncleanness and their transgressions, and hid my face from them. What would we do if He dealt with us according to our transgressions? You will hear, on a broken record, I realize this. Everything in the Old Testament is a picture of the New Testament. He is whispering throughout eternity that He is trying to save us. He's like, let me save you. I've provided the salvation, let me save you, because I will deal with you according to your transgressions. If you don't let me save you from me dealing with you according to your transgressions, because it's going to happen, but I give you decades and centuries and thousands of years, and I've gone, please let me save you, because I know that my day is coming where the transgressions will be paid for exactly as they deserve to be paid for. And He's like, the most amazing thing that He's ever said in the history of ever is, I don't want you to be dealt with the way you deserve to be dealt with. Because that will be eternal death on your part. So He sends them to Babylon as a picture, and He's saying, I've got these chosen people, which represents everybody He is going to save one day that He wants to save. This is Jerusalem right here that He has sent to Babylon. And one day there will be a new Jerusalem that He wants all of us in. And some people are going to choose not to be in that Jerusalem. they're going to choose not to be. And so, meanwhile, he's sending them away to try and win them back and show that, yes, I have a limit, and one day my limit will be met. You'll hear Bub talk about things like this. Fascinate me. The Valley of Megiddo, which is an actual valley. Has Bub shown that on the big screen before? Do y'all remember? He may be in the foyer nodding at me. Is actually the Valley of Megiddo is where Armageddon will take place. That's where they got the word. And that is where the armies literally will gather to fight back against God one day. Revelation talks about it and says this will happen. The armies of the world will gather to fight back. And that is the day. That's the day those people go, I don't want your salvation. I would rather be dealt with according to how I deserve and how they think they deserve, not what they really deserve. And you know what Revelation says? Because they gather to fight back, and I want you to think of this in context, that they gather to fight back against God. And it says God laughs. After thousands of years. And he's like, I spent thousands of years chasing you down at every turn. And some people get way more chances than others. Some of you may have had thousands of chances, and you may know people. Other people get a chance, and that may be it. I guarantee you, Ananias and Sapphira did not know that was their day. But God said, I'm still that same God. I do treat people as they deserve, but I'm also full of grace. And I want you to accept the grace so that I don't have to treat you the way you deserve. But it says God laughs, and then he wipes them out with his breath, like that in the Valley of Megiddo. We want to learn before that. I want us to be the people that listen to Jeremiah before Ezekiel has to start prophesying to them in Babylon. Going, what is wrong with you? Okay, let's keep going. Okay. Go to chapter 40 just real quick. We're just going to read like 4 verses here. Chapter 40, verse 1. In the 25th year of our exile, at the beginning of the year, on the 10th day of the month, in the 14th year after the city was struck down, on that very day the hand of the Lord was upon me. And he brought me to the city in visions of God. He brought me to the land of Israel and set me down on a very high mountain, on which was a structure like a city to the south. When he brought me there, behold, there was a man whose appearance was like bronze, with a linen cord and a measuring reed in his hand, and he was standing in the gateway. And the man said to me, Son of man, look with your eyes and hear with your ears. To which I say, have you ever said that to your kid? Listen with your ears. And the kid going, what else was I going to listen with? I don't know. But anyway, look with your eyes and hear with your ears. And set your heart upon all that I shall show you. For you were brought here in order that I might show it to you. Declare all that you see to the house of Israel. Okay, he has been brought to what he thinks. I mean, he's been how many years? In the 25th year of his exile? That is a really long time. He's been gone for 25 years. And he's been brought in a vision to what looks like Jerusalem. And what God is about to do, God is about to have this man that is like, he looks like bronze, whatever that means. No one can agree. We don't know if that's Jesus. We don't really need to know. We don't really need to know if that's Jesus or not. Or if it's an angel, an angelic being. But something heavenly meets him there and says, we are going to show you something, and we want you to go tell all of Israel what it is. So he takes them all around and go to chapter 43. He went through the temple. We are going to skip over. We're going to skip over 41, which is the inner temple, and what they are telling, oh heavens, y'all would just die if I read through that. It's cubits and columns, and cherub has 2 faces, a human face towards the palm tree on the one side, face of a young lion towards the palm tree on the other. stuff that we would just go, what in the world? So yeah, if you ever have an afternoon, feel like reading Ezekiel, have at it. So I am not going to discourage you from that. 42 is the temple chambers, and then 43, verse 1. Then he led me to the gate facing east. And behold, the glory of the God of Israel was coming from the east. And the sound of his coming was like the sound of many waters. And the earth shone with his glory. And the vision I saw was just like the vision that I had seen when he came to destroy the city. And just like the vision that I had seen by the Shabar Canal. And I fell on my face. And as the glory of the Lord entered the temple by the gate facing east, the Spirit lifted me up and brought me into the inner court. And behold, the glory of the Lord filled the temple. While the man was standing beside me, I heard one speaking to me out of the temple. And he said to me, Son of man, this is the place of my throne, and the place of the soles of my feet, where I will dwell in the midst of Israel forever. And the house of Israel shall no more defile my holy name, neither they nor their kings, by their whoring and by their dead bodies of their kings at their high places, by setting their threshold by my threshold and their doorpost beside my doorpost, with only a wall between me and them. They have defiled my holy name by their abominations that they have committed. So I have consumed them in my anger. Now let them put away their whoring and the dead bodies of their kings. Is that not just pleasant imagery right there? Put away your whoring and the bodies of your dead kings. Anyway, from me, and I will dwell. Is that word you ever said? Y'all ever said that? Put away your whoring and the body of your dead kings. And I will dwell in their midst forever. As for you, son of man, describe to the house of Israel the temple that he just went through in these other chapters. Describe to them the house of Israel the temple, that they may be ashamed of their iniquities, and they shall measure the plan. And if they are ashamed of all that they've done, make known to them the design of the temple, its arrangement, its exits and its entrances, that is, its whole design. And make known to them as well all its statutes and its whole design and all its laws, and write it down in their sight, that they may observe all its laws and all its statutes and carry them out. This is the law of the temple, the whole territory on the top of the mountain, all around shall be most holy. Behold, this is the law of the temple. And then the rest gives all of the dimensions and everything for the altar that they are to do. Okay, confusing enough? Go make sure Israel knows what this temple looks like. Well, what is really interesting about the temple he has just described, when they went through it, why this is so confusing to everyone, even today, the temple they describe, or the Jerusalem temple, would be like 3.5 miles wide. And get this, Jerusalem is really only about 2.5 miles wide. Can y'all believe a country that has been fought over for centuries is that teeny tiny? In different areas of time, at certain points only like 500 people lived within the city walls. In its heyday, right before the Romans came in 70 AD to totally destroy the temple, and it hasn't been rebuilt. Okay, if you don't know that, it has not been rebuilt. In 70 AD, the Romans came in, totally destroyed it. Right before that, about 20,000 people lived in the city, and that was the most for that time that ever lived there. Now, they lived outside and around it, but it's up on a mountain. The temple, that's why it's called the Temple. That here? The Temple Mount. And it's also where now, do anybody else know what's also on the dome? What's also on the Temple Mount now? The Dome of the Rock is up there. So they share it. In essence, the Temple Mount is there. The temple is gone. But the Muslim most holy place is there. Because they crossed Abraham, Isaac, and Ishmael. That's the whole problem. We may do that in another study. But that the Isaac and Ishmael deal, that's what caused there to be a temple and a Dome of the Rock, the Muslim most holy place, because God said, look, you guys are going to fight forever, and they have. They have fought forever over this teeny tiny little bit of land. Who would have ever thought that would last all of these years? But in this 2.5 miles, about what it is, and what they describe for the temple is 3.5 miles. So they're like, that's not even feasible for the city. This temple is bigger than we'd even fit in the city of Jerusalem. And by Jerusalem, I mean, a city would have a wall, a 10-foot thick wall, typically around it to protect it. And so you're talking about people that live within the wall. And this is bigger what he describes. And he says, what we're looking at then, though, is not just, is this realistic, but we're looking at what he says about why we need to even listen to this. As for you, son of man, describe it to the house of Israel, that they may be ashamed, this is verse 10, that they may be ashamed of their iniquities, and they shall measure the plan. And if they're ashamed of all that they've done, make known to them the design of the temple and its arrangement, and on and on. And he said, this whole thing shall be most holy, and this is the law of the temple. What in the world? What does that sound like to you guys? They need to be ashamed. They need to see this and be ashamed of what they've done. What do we do with that? This is I'm not a preacher, so this is the participation part. You don't have to sit here. This isn't like Sunday morning where you don't say anything. What is he saying? What do you think?
Repent.
Sounds like repentance, doesn't it? Repentance is agreeing with God that what you do is wrong. That's what's so hard in a society, especially like ours, because we don't agree with God. As a matter of fact, we will argue with God what is okay and what is not okay. And we will either omit parts of Scripture where He has said something is not okay, or we will twist it, or we'll ignore it altogether. We'll just omit that part and believe the rest of the Bible, which you can't do, because why would you do that? Like, if part of it is wrong, then why is part of it right? And how do you decide which is right, which is wrong? You got to either throw it all out, or you got to believe all of it. So we omit it, or we ignore it, or we twist it. And repentance is agreeing with Him and saying, I have done this, and I do this, and you say it's not right, and I agree with you. This is not right. This is not right, and I don't want to do it anymore. I am looking at you and going, you're right, I'm wrong. Isn't that what you want your kids to do? You are right, I am wrong. That's what you want your kids to say to you. That's what we all want. Because imagine if, I feel like God's trying to explain this to us, and God spends so much time explaining Himself to us in what I feel like is the most basic, simplest terms, even though it doesn't always seem like it. Like He's explaining it to a 5-year-old, like I said. So what if the 5-year-old looked up at you? A lot of you have had a 5-year-old, or will, and the 5-year-old says, you do not know what you're talking about. I know what I'm talking about. I'm smarter than you. Or looks up at you and says this, I am smarter than you. You don't know what you speak of. I do. I am going to go my own way. Any 5-year-old, it doesn't matter. It could be a savant 5-year-old. I don't care. And you're going to look at that 5-year-old and go, you're an idiot. Because there isn't a 5-year-old that is as smart as any of you in this room. Now, they might could beat you in math problems. They could. And might could outspell you. There are some that could outspell some of you. But there isn't a one that is smarter than you guys. And when we look at God and go, smarter, I got my own way. I don't need your way. I don't need to agree with you. I don't need to repent. I don't need to be ashamed of anything I've done. That's when we are in danger. And He sent this to him and said, I want you to show them. This is what's so interesting, because it wasn't just the building of the temple. It wasn't the structure. Although I fully believe the structure He always had them build mimics what is actually in heaven. Because in Revelation it even tells us, I get so excited about this stuff, so you will hear me repeat some of it, that when there was silence in heaven for 30 minutes, do you remember that? When they're about to pour? Okay. And his wrath is about to be unleashed on everybody that says, I want to be dealt with according to how I deserve to be dealt with. Go ahead, God. I don't want your saving from that. And it's about that it says, everybody stops in heaven. Prior to that, it says people are going in and out of the temple in heaven. So if you ever wonder, I've had people go, I just don't know about being on my knees for all eternity and singing songs. That sounds so boring. And I'm like, then you need to read some more about him. You need to spend some more time with him. In heaven, they're coming in and out. They're doing stuff. Stuff is going on. They are worshiping and they are tending him in the temple and they're coming out and all sorts of stuff is going on. And then for 30 minutes it says everyone stops. So if you're imagining a giant cloud with everybody on their knees for eternity with just a throne and a giant cloud, it's not how it is. There is a new Jerusalem that is coming out, a new heaven and a new earth. And he has that temple, he has it set up, and he showed them to set it up here as it is there, as the best replica that they could of what is going on in heaven. And the most important part of it says, do y'all remember where he came into the temple, where it says he entered, the presence of God entered? In the east gate. The east gate, it says the presence of God filled the temple. Well, after the last deportation, Nebuchadnezzar and them came, they destroyed the walls and destroyed the temple. Because that's what you did. If you wanted to show your power over a city and to ensure that they couldn't be there anymore, you're going to destroy their place of worship. And that's what he did, which is why the Romans came in 70 AD and destroyed it all. And so he came in and destroyed it. They had nowhere for the presence of God to be. We have the Holy Spirit. Very hard for us to appreciate a place where he dwells, and without it, he's gone. And he's not with you anymore. And has he left us forever for good? And is he coming back? For us, it says he dwells with us and we are his temple. But for them, when the temple was gone, he was gone. And so he showed them, and he said, show them what they've done wrong, and then show them how my presence filled the temple again. Another view of him saying, I want to be with you. How many times do I have to tell you I want to be with you? Go show them so that they will be sorry, so that they'll repent, they'll agree with me, and I can take you back and you can rebuild the temple and I'm coming back in so that I can show everybody that one day that was just a picture of how I want to be with you forever. How I want to come in. And one day you won't ever be without my presence. They didn't understand that. At the time, we are on the other side of the cross. They did not understand that. At the time, all they had was that temple. And he said, show them me and my presence so that they'll understand what is coming for them. That I am coming for you and I'm going to pursue you. That's a picture of it. And he just wanted them to repent. That's all he wanted. I was not watching. It actually was a replay on the news. I did not watch the CMAs. Did anybody watch the CMAs? Is that what was on? Yeah, it was on. That's what it was. The CMAs, am I right? Was that this week? Okay, that was last night. All right. Well, Keith Urban, some of you, do y'all even know who Keith Urban is? I kind of halfway do. I don't know what he sings. Okay, Dee Dee totally does know who Keith Urban is. Some of you are going, oh, Penny knows. Yes, he must be a very cute individual. Like, yeah, I think he is. I think he's a pretty cute dude. And he is married to Nicole Kidman. I saw, like a month ago, that Nicole Kidman, I want to say is older than Bubba. I want to say she's 51, 52. So they did a news clip this morning, and they showed he won something. I should know. I don't know what he won. He won something big. Entertainer of the Year? All right, he won Entertainer of the Year, thanks to Dee Dee. And she stands up, she's like taller than everybody I think she's ever dated. She's like 6'2". I don't know how big she is, but she's taller than Keith Urban too, just like she's way taller than Tom Cruise. And she stands up and she's crying and she's like, is she really 6'2"? Oh, okay, I thought you said it. So she's tearing up and she's all like, and her face is all contorted, and I'm looking at her and I'm thinking about hearing the news report that she's like 52 years old and she's smiling and crying. There is not a crow's foot on her face. Not a laugh line, not a crow's. She didn't have pores. I don't know how her skin breathes because I mean they were close up on her and she's smiling as big as she can smile and not a single crow's foot, not five. Thank goodness there is more for the rest of us to this life, because not all of us are getting that. And so I thought there is more to this life than what we see on a daily basis, because I was like, that's just not fair. Like, she must. Well, y'all see, now y'all can go Google it. Go Google him winning and you will see her and you will marvel as well how in the world. But there is got to be more than just this. And God continually shows up in Scripture after all of our failures over and over to go, there is more. There is more. This isn't it. This isn't it. However, I do want you to keep in mind, and many, many times in Scripture, it was their last chance. He doesn't give unlimited chances to everyone. He just doesn't. I had somebody whose husband was killed in a car accident, and she had said he had just mentioned, after years of her inviting him to church, he had just said, I will think about it. And then he was killed in a car accident. And she said, how can God do something? And that was a hard question to hear. Because it's when people really question who he is and what he's like. And is he really, we have the New Testament, he's all love and grace and mercy. And the Old Testament, he strikes people dead. Like, I don't know, which is he? He's all of that, all of the time. It's just that he does not pour out his wrath on all of us, even though we deserve it all the time. And when he allows something like that to happen, we got to have a really good talk, and she really listened to what I had to say. And I said, he afforded him so many opportunities. You talked to him, and he was starting to listen, but he just wasn't willing to yet. And all of that time, God had said, here I am, what do you think? Here I am, what do you think? I want to save you. And remember, we always talk about to be saved, you have to be saved from something. And it was being saved from how you deserve to be dealt with. I want to save you from that, what do you think? And he said, not yet. Not right now. Not right now. And at some point, for people, God goes, well, for you, that's the last chance that you get. Not because he loves you less than anybody else. It is because all of us only get a certain amount. You might live to 90 and never hear the name of Jesus, and the day you hear it at 90, you accept it in your one chance. And you may hear it every day of your life and reject it. But he decides in his infinite wisdom, and he is no different. Is he all loving? More loving than you could ever be, even towards your own children. More faithful than you would be to your children. More merciful and more grace. I always explain grace to you guys. Because I think it's important to not hear church words and let them just roll over us like we understand what they mean when we don't. And yesterday I was fixing what I thought they would be excited about. It's like a shrimp Alfredo thing, and their favorite thing in the world is Red Lobster biscuits. Those are pretty good. We're like, the Cheddar Bay biscuits. So I'm thinking you can buy those in the box at the grocery store. So easy to make, and they're so good, so terrible for you. There's probably nothing natural in them at all. Nothing, unless you use real butter to pour over the top of them, but there's nothing natural in them. But I was making it when they got home because we had to be done for prayer time last night. So I held up the box, and one of my children, I won't name, walked in and was like, whatever. I was like, I thought you'd be excited. You know how they do that. And you're like, oh, I'm all disappointed. I thought you'd be excited. You're not excited. Whatever. And he does not care. And because my feelings are of no import to him whatsoever. And so there's one biscuit left at the end of dinner. And he is willing to go to blows over this biscuit. Because I already said to share it. And so the other son says, but Mom, don't you remember? He made fun of him when he came walking in the door. And that one goes. And I said, I do remember that. I do remember that. And really, I had other things going on. But still, I mustered up enough at that time to go. That is grace. give him half the biscuit. I don't care. I'm going to give him what he doesn't deserve. If I went with what he deserved, you get the entire biscuit. Forgive him. He was rude to me when he walked in the door. But I did mess with that as grace. And he was really mad. And he wouldn't let go of it, so when he pulled the biscuit out of his hand, his pinchy finger still kept more of that half, so he could stick it right in his mouth, because they're still 2 years old, even though they're 15 years old. But that is grace. You get what you don't deserve. You don't get it forever. You don't get that chance forever. Neither do the people you love. At some point, he will lovingly and justly say, that's enough. I really wish you had chosen differently. I'm still convinced. I told Bub when it says neither height nor depth nor, angels nor death, no, anything will separate us from the love of God. And it has come to me, I could be totally wrong, and he'll tell me when I get to heaven, that forever, when those people are separated from him, they will be separated from him, but he will still love them. That will be his thing to bear forever. That they chose not to. Just like if you're a parent and your child chooses to go a way that you would never have wanted for them, and their life is getting destroyed. And just because their life is getting destroyed, does that change how you feel about them? It destroys you that they're doing that to themselves because they're part of you. So one day he will say, I wanted you to see this. I showed you the temple. I showed you my presence and said I want to be with you forever, and I don't want to deal with you the way you deserve. I want to give you forgiveness, and I want to take it away all for you. All the punishment you deserve will just be gone in the blink of an eye. I'll pay it all, and you'll never taste a bit of it. When I pour out my wrath on the earth, none of it will be for you, even though you totally deserve it. And there are people that go, nah. And at some point, and he will still offer it over and over, and at some point, he will go, that's enough. That's enough. And he will still love them, I believe, for eternity. But then they will decide to pay the price for themselves. In Ezekiel, he's given us the picture of the way he works. I want you to understand me. I want you to understand that what I require. And we know now in the Old Testament, all he requires is belief. He said, that's all. That is all. Let me pay for it for you. Just believe that I did, that I paid for it, and you don't have to take it. Say, you agree with me. Like the thief on the cross did. Say, I agree with you. Whatever you have, I don't, and I want it. That's all you have to do. And he said, that's all. That's it. I want you to agree with me. And the Israelites kept not agreeing. And so he would cast them away temporarily as a picture of his casting away eternally, that he will do one thing. And he would bring them back. If you've ever read through the Judges, that's what he did over and over. A new judge, the people would disobey. He would send somebody in to conquer them. They'd be like, we're so sorry. And they'd come back, and they did it over and over and over for hundreds of years. And you know what? He let them keep doing it. So whenever somebody tells you that our God is not a patient, merciful God, he's so patient. The fact that we're still sitting here is evidence of his patience. Think about those days that we talked about a few minutes ago, where you went through your entire day, never gave a thought to him. Where you walked through the door and God held up his box of Red Lobster biscuits and you ignored it. They were like, and God went, okay, I'll just be over here for you. And you forgot how holy he was. You forgot that he told Moses to take off his sandals if he wanted to even stand near him. And you walked past him like he was nothing. And we do that every day. And he told Ezekiel, show them the temple. So that when they look at me and they look at the temple, they'll go, oh my gosh, look at me. He said, and that's all it'll take. Because then they'll be sorry. And I'm okay with that, as long as they're sorry for what they've done. And that's what I want for all of us. And I always ask you, and y'all always disappoint me every time. Well, no, last time somebody asked. Because we got to finish. We have 5 minutes. Does anybody have any questions?